Welcome to Breaking the Silence of Design, a bi-monthly podcast intended to discuss the issues of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion in the built environment. My name is Karen Compton, and I am your co-host and founder of A3K Consulting.
And I'm Gabrielle Bullock, your other co-host, and I'm Director of Global Diversity and Principal with Perkins & Will. A few discussions ago, I said that I would remain optimistic and hopeful around advancing our profession from a justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion perspective. So we're going to continue the conversation today and move everybody to action, because this is a movement, but it implies move. So with that, there's a Guyanese proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, bring someone along. Today, we are joined by a very unique someone who will help us go farther. David Hart, President and CEO of Steinberg Hart Architects. Just a little background. David not only leads the 150-person international architecture, interiors, and planning firm that has 7 offices throughout the United States and Asia. I want to welcome you to the hot seat.
Thank you. I am excited to be here.
I'm excited that you came, quite frankly. So full disclosure for everyone watching, David and I actually worked together for about 5 years in the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. And then I left to start my practice. And I sent you an email following George Floyd's murder. And in that context of that email, I appealed to you, I believe I appealed to you to say something, that I was really angry in the moment and the silence really wasn't acceptable. And do you recall?
I do remember, and my response to Karen was that I had sent an internal message to my staff and that we were working, that basically things were moving forward within Steinberg Hart. And with her urging, I realized that was not enough. And I went from convincing myself and the people within my firm that we were on a good path to realizing that we needed to speak up, that we needed to say something. And we got out a statement that day. And I'm so thankful that you pushed me. I needed the push, and it's been a great movement forward for my firm.
So I didn't talk to you then for about 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then 2 weeks later, roughly, I had posted something onto my LinkedIn page, and then you responded to me privately. And in your response, you said, "I am now an angry white man."
Yeah, so I had posted an article that was titled, "I'm an angry black man," or "I'm finally an angry black man." And reading that article, it was so well put together, and I apologize, I don't remember the author's name, but I posted it on my LinkedIn, and to this day, it's the most liked and visited post that I've ever put on. But the anger really comes from, well, the response to Black Lives Matter. The excuses, the inaction, and then the side taking, the polarization. And what I mean by this is that we live in a time where doing what's right for humanity turns into side taking. And the press, our politics, next thing you know, your people are taking sides. And that is heartbreaking to me, and it's angering to me that we are unable to do the right thing here, which is support humanity, support Black Lives Matter. And so whether it's inaction or all lives matter or just outright racist, I mean, it's all rooted in stupidity in my mind. There's no lack of knowledge now. You can't claim ignorance, not in this world. I mean, we can see it. I mean, it's on camera, right? It's no longer, well, he said, she said, this person. we can see it. We all watched George Floyd murdered. We watched it. And if that didn't stir something in you, because you've numbed yourself because of society, I get it. You know, there's a lot of bad news out there. But for me, as I said, you know, the only way for me to get through being angry is to move to action. And so I am in a better place now, a month later, because of the things that have moved forward within our profession, I think. But there's so much that's not happening in our profession, and that's one of the big reasons I'm here today.
So I got to ask you a question. You got mad after George Floyd's murder. Why weren't you mad before?
That's a great question. We have what I would say is wave after wave of bad news and inaction. Whether it's bombing a church, whether it's an active shooter, whether it's Sandy Hook, Breonna Taylor, Ferguson. I mean, it's a constant roll. It's in front of us nonstop. And before we even have a chance to feel, the sides pop up, the two sides. It gets politicized, it's red or it's blue. And so there's a I'm going to take care of what I can take care of. I'm going to move on with my life, right. You know, raising my family, doing those things. And I think the anger, as I said to Karen, is that when I saw the Black Lives Matter protests, I had hope. And then when my hope was dashed by the batons, by the tear gas, all of a sudden we hear, oh, look at all the looting and all the bad things about looting. But okay, so you're anti-looting. Good for you. I mean, right? But you're not anti-baton. You're not anti-tear gas. You're not anti-get shot in the back. So that's why the anger, I think that for me, you know, that's where the anger came, is that here we have a young, powerful movement and it's getting shut down. It's getting iced over, and that makes me mad.
Now I know you really well. When you get angry, you tend to do things very quickly.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Well, thank goodness I have a great team of people that I work with. We have a great leadership team, but I was ready to just charge the hill and move forward. And I moved sort of swiftly on a few fronts within the firm. And what I realized is that we're all in a different place. We're all experiencing what's in front of us right now from a different perspective. And that what was needed was a venue, a space for listening, an opportunity not for more David. We got enough of that in my company. But how do I was, as Gabrielle said, I was moving and I was alone. And what I realized is that we've got to, if we're going to make meaningful transformation within our firm, and then by extension, the profession, we have to do this together. And so we started our listening sessions. We built a team now that has leaders, principals, partners, all the way down to the most junior design staff. And it's probably about 15% of our firm that meet every week and have goals and are, you know, we're moving, as Gabrielle says, you know, we're moving forward and as a group and as a team. And I think that means that we'll have something much more sustainable. And I'm realizing that, you know, the white guy with white privilege isn't it's my job to make space for things to happen, but for us to really, as a family, as a company family, hear each other, understand each other, and try to move ourselves move our culture forward.
So I think it's important to note, because you've already said it, you have privilege. And Gabrielle and I have had this conversation on many occasions about what your privilege affords you that it does not afford me.
Oh yeah, if I get mad, it's just, oh, David's mad. If you get mad, it's
black woman.
Yeah, you're not coming back.
No.
Yeah, your consultancy, you know, you're yeah, I get that.
Not just.
I didn't always get that.
Yeah.
It took me a while to understand white privilege.
And I think what I have come to appreciate is that you now get it, that you do understand that you have a different level of privilege than I do, that I need you to speak up.
Yeah.
When I ask you to speak up, that you do, because you have the opportunity to do it without being judged or criticized, which is different than my experience, my lived experience.
Right.
I mean, you could give me your perspective, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have the privilege and the power to direct your team, to empower your team. This is what we're going to deal with, right? And good for you, because you're using, this is what, in challenging the status quo, we have to challenge white privilege. And it can only be challenged by those that have the privilege and the power. I did want to ask you one thing, or just to make a statement. You know, when we've had our discussions, I've had discussions with many people, including staff and colleagues, for the last couple of months. And I was surprised by the white folks that I've spoken to, their shock and awe that racism really exists and that it's that bad. And I was really taken aback. I thought, if you've been privileged as long as I've been oppressed, why do I get both sides and you don't understand what we've been going through? Not that you have to answer that, but think about that perspective as you and your organization tackle this issue.
Yeah.
I would like to respond if I can.
No, please.
You know, I think, you know, I would put myself in that category of people who were colorblind. I hired the best people. I didn't care, you know, what race or background they were. And I thought that was okay. I thought that was okay. I had no great white guilt or any. I mean, I thought that was, you know, I'm employing talent. I realize that I'm sorry I'm late to the party, but I'm one of those people who didn't really understand white privilege. I think I was embarrassed by it. I think I had some guilt associated with it. I think I wanted to deny it. I have embraced it and understand it. And you used a word, Gabrielle, power. That it is power. And I have never embraced that power because of its past, because of how I've acquired it by doing nothing except being born. And now what I realize is that when you have power, when you have sphere of influence, and people I know are watching, like, that kid doesn't have any power at all. But what I realize is that you have an obligation to do good. You have an obligation to do right. And so to me, taking on Jedi, and I would love that, but justice, equality, I mean, is that so hard? I mean,
evidently.
So in the last.
But I don't understand why that's so hard.
So
I haven't given up anything.
Yeah.
I have made room at the table. I've slid over. You know.
So in the last 4 weeks, you have gone on a journey. You have texted me almost every book you've read, every movie you're watching. You give me line by line commentary on what you're watching in the moment. I get updates on the weekend. It's like, wow, he's having his own education, and I deeply appreciate.
Oh, and Karen, not just you. So there's a support group for people who are getting texted by David.
I think I need to join that support group. But you have now gone on this journey, and you came here to bravely take a seat and ask some of your own questions. So what questions do you want to start with?
Yes. So one of my aha questions is, all of us design firms, and I'm going to direct this at Gabrielle. We talk about, collaboration. It's in our marketing materials, it's in our conversation, it's in our cultures, right? Collaboration. But how do we have true collaboration without diversity in a design practice? And then the reciprocal, how do you have real diversity without collaboration? And I don't mean just when you look at the jelly bean jar, it's got different colors. But if it all has different colors, but only the white jelly beans are talking, what I'm getting at is that I liked your beach ball, by the way. I like that.
Somebody watched our last
But
episode.
it's not just about being present. It's about having a voice. And I learned a new term from Opalia at Designing in Color. She talked about quieted voices. And so how do we get those extremely talented people with quieted voices into our collaboration, and into the diversity?
Right. Well, I would say that collaboration is an overly used word. Yeah. And unless you really intend to collaborate, then, because diversity is just the mix, right? Doesn't automatically mean that you are able to collaborate with that mix. You have to intentionally engage the jelly beans, as you put it, to make a better thing, widget, design, whatever. So in simple terms, diversity is just what you have. But inclusion and equity, right? You have to engage those voices in order to truly collaborate. And yes, you can collaborate without being diverse, but you will get sameness. Same perspectives, same outcomes, not terribly innovative, probably, right? So it's really more than just diversity.
I would probably expand on that, and I would offer the following, which is, I think that you have to validate and acknowledge the ideas of the individuals that are in the room, and not be so willing to dismiss those ideas before they ever get a chance to become fully vetted and realized. It's in the process of the consideration of those ideas that true inclusion actually happens. And I think that having those ideas acknowledged, regardless of whether or not they can happen or they're too expensive or whatever the reason or the excuse might happen to be, I think allowing a space for that to kind of come in and creep in is part of people really truly feeling not feeling excluded, but being included in a conversation.
And if there's not tension, then you're not collaborating.
So in the time that actually remains, what's your kind of final question or follow-up question?
Yeah, so what do we say to the leaders of firms who don't think they have a problem?
I'm gonna let you go first.
Well, I would ask them if they've looked in the mirror, really looked in the mirror, and asked themselves, what is the problem that the majority of this profession has, if not all of it, and how could they say they don't have a problem? Are you diverse? Are you inclusive? Do you address through your work equity and justice by doing no harm? Those are questions. And what's your culture like? Have you had the conversation with your staff? Have your staff told you we don't have a problem? I think you have to understand the problem truly before you can say we don't have a problem. And so for those that automatically say we don't have a problem, I'm not buying it.
I think the ones that say that they don't have a problem have either not asked the question and they don't want to listen. I think those are two very different things. It takes a lot of courage to ask the question. Gabrielle and I spoke previously, and you and I spoke earlier. In order to really be able to take action, you have to sit and be really uncomfortable with what it is you're going to hear. And then once you actually hear it, be prepared to actually do something about it. So to individuals who say, I don't have a problem, it may very well be because they've never really truly asked the question, and they really truly don't want the answer. Because at the point at which you have the answer, you must do something. Yeah. And I think that's what I would clearly say.
I agree. You know, I thought we didn't have any problems. You know, our jelly bean jar is pretty diverse. You know, I've got a black partner, black principal. You know, we've got a pretty diverse group, and but it's about the voice. It's about hearing. It's about the processes, and whether you want to describe it as a problem or a huge opportunity. This is a huge opportunity for firms to be better. And what harm, what possible harm do you have in making your firm, your practice better?
Yeah. I think the important part is hear my voice. Hear her voice. Hear the voices collectively of all people, not just the people who get to be the loudest. Because normally the people who are loudest at the table, as you know, are the ones who usually have power and control. The ones who tend to be the quietest are the ones who lack power and lack control and therefore say very little. But it does not mean that their points of view are not valid. You have to be able to provide a space and a place for them to be comfortable to articulate them.
And let's be clear, it's not just to include a whole bunch of voices just because. Yeah. It's the value of those voices. It's the value of the different perspectives, exactly. Right? Which is what makes our work better, makes us better as people and as teams. And this is a humanity issue, right?
What are final thoughts to your peers and to your colleagues?
Well, the built environment's a reflection of our values. And the built environment, you know, lasts for hundreds of years. And I think that we are in a moment in time where we have a great opportunity to move from, I would call it sort of a sameness and a homogeneity of design in the built environment towards an amazing future. And I think it begins, I think this is a design problem. I think this is a built environment problem. We leave behind a wake and an impression, an imprint on society in what we do. And so what we're thinking finds its way through to the bricks and mortar. And I think it's imperative that we change the construct of our thinking so that we build a more just world for all of us to live in.
With that, I want to thank you for joining us today. I want to thank IBI Group, who is our sponsor on this journey, on this endeavor. I want to thank my guest, our guest, David Hart, and my co-host, Gabrielle Bullock, for such a great conversation.
Thank you, David. And I want to thank our followers and subscribers. And it's not too late to follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. And so we look forward to seeing you on the next episode as we push these uncomfortable conversations further. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.